Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the Lamborghini Murcielago in multiplayer in Asphalt 9 in Gold League. This is a B-class car that I have at 3 stars after unlocking it in the Cento Dieci Drive Syndicate. Please consider subscribing if you have not already, and be sure to check out my Furum Clips channel as well as my Furum TV channel and my Purple Team Discord. Links to all those will be down in the description, and I hope you enjoy these races. So the Murcielago is the most recent example of a previously pay-to-win car becoming free to play. It was a Legend Pass car previously, and now it was the second car that you get by going through the Cento Dieci Drive Syndicate. I just barely managed to get it to 3 stars. Literally, I was down to my last Syndicate coins and I just barely managed to get it. I also unlocked the 765 LT at 1 star, and of course I got the Desir at 3 stars as well, which I already made a video about. In the garage, the Murcielago is situated right around the middle of Class B, which based on its performance is pretty accurate. It goes toe-to-toe with cars like the Apex and the Corvette Grand Sport, but doesn't really bring a whole lot to the table in terms of B-class performance overall. Cars like the Huracan and any of the other kings of its class completely outpace it on any track that you give it. That being said, even at 3 stars, I found that it was fairly competitive against a lot of cars. In this first race here in particular, I was actually facing a couple of VLFs that I ended up beating. This doesn't always happen, as you'll see in the next few races. I do come up against quite a few cars in B-class and some in A-class that are quite tough to go up against. Granted, I am only at 3 stars, but I would say that around 3 stars is where this car starts being decent. If you get to 4 or 5 stars, you probably will do slightly better, but you're never going to be able to perform exceptionally well with this car. I did enjoy driving it quite a lot though. It reminds me a lot of the Gallardo, and if I ever say Gallardo in this video, please forgive me, as I get the 2 cars mixed up quite often, to be honest with you. I have them both at 3 stars, they are both Legend Pass cars that became free to play, they look similar to each other, they're both in purple, well, that's pretty much all of my garage, and they have similar stats as well. Just the Gallardo is in Class C, where it's able to do much better within its class than the Murcielago does. Because I wanted to give myself a bit more of a challenge, most of the races in this video were recorded in Platinum League. In this race here in particular, I'm battling a Genty Aculone for a large portion of the race. See, he even pushed me onto the long way here. I found in cases like this it's better to just take the long way rather than trying to go to the short way and pretty much risk hitting the middle, which I have done plenty of times from experience. This SC18 here wrecks on something, I'm not sure what, and I think the Genty may have hit the truck, so now I am just ahead of him again. Coming up toward the final corner, he kept bumping me so many times throughout this race. If anyone wants to count just how many times the Genty bumped me, there's another one right there. Somehow didn't get knocked down, but unfortunately he does pass me at the very last second, and we come in second place, however only by 1 frame, and we do beat the SC18 and a Grand Sport. Now moving on to a race on Rome against a Huayra BC and 4 Grand Sports in their natural habitat. We'll have to see how this car does against them. It goes around 10 miles per hour, maybe a little bit more faster than the Corvettes, but the thing is, it loses to the Corvette, I believe, on tracks like the Caribbean, for example, so the twistier ones, although it does manage to beat that car on a majority of them. And I think Rome would be a pretty close race between the two if you were just going based on time, because although this car goes faster, the Corvette definitely can get around the turns better. So right now, I've caught up to and passed all of them with just the 911 GT3 left to pass, and we have done that as well. At the beginning of the race, all 7 other players in this race went the left path, whereas I took the right path. I thought for sure the left path was always slower, however, I have heard that it could be faster in some more agile cars. However, in this race, that didn't seem to be the case, as I passed pretty much every single one of them by going the right way instead of the left way. If anyone knows for sure about that, please let me know down in the comments, because I'd be interested to know if it would actually be faster for me to go that way in any car, because currently I don't. I always go to the right at the beginning of that track. Thankfully, once we got ahead of all those cars, since I am faster than them all except for the Huayra BC, I did manage to beat them all as they were not able to catch up, even throughout the twisty sections of Rome. There's another car, actually, right next to the Murcielago, maybe 1 or 2 cars over, actually, in B-Class that I unlocked recently, the Nissan R390 GT1, which I recently made a video about. I got it in its Grand Prix at 1 star, and I got 3rd place in Tier 2 in the Grand Prix with that. This is the first Grand Prix that I have won in a while at a 1-star car, or with a 1-star car, I should say, without sandbagging. Yeah, I didn't sandbag at all in this one. I just ended up in Tier 2, and I had a pretty close battle with a guy for 4th place, but in Tier 2, even in 4th place, you would win the car, you just wouldn't get a decal. So I managed to beat the 4th place guy by around 4 points, I want to say. We kept going back and forth between 3rd and 4th place on pretty much all of the rounds of the Grand Prix. The 1st and 2nd place people had 2-star cars, and me and everybody else pretty much had 1-star cars, and I was able to beat them all, which is pretty cool. Got the car number 121. Probably won't be making a video about it as it is only at 1 star, and I already made a video about it at max. And typically 1-star cars don't do super well in multiplayer. We lost to an Apex in that race, but beat a bunch of Corvettes and a VLF, and in this next race on Auckland, we're going to be facing a couple of SCGs, as well as 2 Apollo Ns, a Grand Sport, a DBS Superleggera, and an Aventador J. Now, Auckland, I have begun to like less and less, honestly, since it has come out, simply due to all of the turns not really being the most fun to get around. But thankfully, in the first 20 seconds of this race, in the ghosting period pretty much, I was able to get ahead of the rest of the cars. Now, this was not going to stay the case for long. This SCG here did a 360. I think he was trying to floaty drift, but I don't really think the SCG can floaty drift. Most B-Class cars can't, and that car doesn't feel like one that can, so in any case, he did end up getting ahead along with this Apollo N. These are faster cars than me by a bit, thankfully, because I was able to ride their slipstream. I was able to pass this Apollo N at the last second, come in 2nd place, only next to this SCG. And now we're moving on to our final race in Osaka. Yes, it is actually Osaka this time. It is not New York. I will not make that mistake again, mark my words. That will probably come back to haunt me. But in any case, we're facing a couple of SCGs again in this race, as well as a Grand Sport, a Huracan, and some other cars. Now it's time for my general review of the Murcielago. This is another one of those very average cars in the game that there really isn't a whole lot to say about. It goes 225 miles per hour at max. Its nitro is decent-ish, not the best. So is its drifting and handling. I would say probably the worst thing about it would be its acceleration, which at 3 stars is only 73. So not too great. Thankfully, the slipstream has helped in these last couple of races, as these races were recorded, I think between 2 different seasons. At max, its nitro does go up to 77.5, which is better than that of the Grand Sport, but it is rather below average for Class B. So this is another one of those cars that you're not really missing anything by not having, but if you did manage to get it, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with how it does in Gold or maybe even Platinum League. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt, Forza, Minecraft, and other games content, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!